So, I'm not gonna lie, I hated Final Fantasy XIV. You guys remember this video? Yeah, shortly after I made that video, I started on the patch quests after finishing the main scenario of A Realm Reborn, and dear God, those quests were a snore fest. Go here, talk to this person, now teleport here. Oh, wait, pick this stuff up, now go give it to this guy. No, wait, actually give it to this guy instead of that guy, because he didn't need it. For hours and hours and hours on end. I dropped the game thinking, why am I wasting my time playing this game when there are so many other games out there I could actually be enjoying instead of suffering in silence, waiting to get to the good part. Fast forward about a year or so and I'm wanting to get back into an MMO again. I try out SWTOR, which I enjoy for a couple hours, surprised by the dialogue options you can choose, thinking it's actually pretty neat, but I end up not really being able to get into it. I search up Guild Wars 2, ready to start up my old account again, but soon decide to drop that as well. Then I remember Final Fantasy XIV and my level 50 paladin sitting in patch quest limbo and decide screw it, I'm just gonna resubscribe. Boy, was that both the worst and the best decision I ever made. See, A Realm Reborn's content, at least story-wise, had always been pretty awful to me. I hated watching the cutscenes, wasn't interested in the characters whatsoever, and pretty much always hit the skip button if the cutscenes weren't voiced. And even when they were voiced, I still skipped them on occasion. With the patch quests, multiply these problems tenfold. I really think this is where pretty much everyone just stops playing the game. If you can get past the base game, which in my opinion is hard enough, getting through the patch quests is exponentially harder. With the questing being point A to point B delivery 90% of the time, it's like watching paint dry. At least, there's the occasional dungeon thrown in here and there to at least give you something to look forward to. And by the way, this is after everything they've done to adjust how slow the base game is. Yes, I was gaining several levels a day, which was nice, but that doesn't really matter in the end when you still have to get through those painful main scenario quests at the end of the day. Regardless, my main issue here was still with the patch quests. Thank God they added in flying, which helps a lot, but I don't even know how bad it was beforehand because I dropped the game for a year in the middle of the patch quests. But I still think more could be done to improve this part of the game so that not so many new players just get tired of doing the same quests over and over again just to get to Heavensward. But finally, after many painstaking hours of just pure monotony, I've reached Heavensward, and I can say that I'm finally enjoying playing the game again. Not only that, I actually watched all the cutscenes beforehand introducing Heavensward, and was genuinely invested in the story for the first time in my 60 hours spent playing the game. I mean, just look at my reactions to some of the stuff that goes down. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't beat A Realm Reborn.
Would mock her, then mock her from hell.
Aha! I mean, finally, some actual consequences instead of all this goody-goody stuff. Like Raubon getting his arm cut off? Jesus Christ, that's hardcore. Literally name one thing that's even as remotely as memorable as that before this cutscene in all of A Realm Reborn. Heavensward just seems to have a much darker tone, and I think it's all the more interesting because of that tone shift. The Dark Knight class has been a breath of fresh air. Don't get me wrong, I love my Paladin, but after 60 hours in the base game, I was needing another class to pick up that wasn't DPS and was a tank and wasn't the Marauder because I just don't really like axes. But that's another thing. I mean, the variety of classes that you can be opens up even more once you reach Heavensward, giving you the option to become a Dark Knight, a Machinist, an Astrologian, and probably more, as I haven't really gotten too far into Heavensward at all yet. So if you're just getting sick of those jobs that are just in the base game, maybe just wait till you get to Heavensward and maybe you'll find a job that actually suits you. I didn't feel like any of the classes in the base game itself really suited me, except for Paladin, and even Paladin for me was kind of like, it's okay, but I'm finding a lot of fun playing the Dark Knight, and who knows, there might be a class that suits you in Heavensward as well. And the Dark Knight questline itself is actually really interesting. I had some trouble getting into the job questlines for some of the jobs in the base game, but the introduction to this questline had me investigating a knight who the Temple Knights had left for dead, and he begins to teach us how to harness the power of darkness. Like, God, this is just so much more interesting than any of the other job quests that the base game had. And that's literally like the first 5 minutes of the questline. The voice actors, by the way, better, just way better. From the first cutscene into Heavensward, I could already tell they had gotten rid of Alphinaud's voice actor immediately. And it was the right move. Those old voice actors were terrible. You can tell they have a much bigger budget because of A Realm Reborn, and they were able to use that budget to make many aspects of this expansion better than the base game. The environment itself is much more interesting and gritty. The dungeons have gotten more difficult. I've died several times and actually have to pay attention to the mechanics of the boss. The first 50 levels of this game felt like a tutorial, in essence, which that fact alone is pretty ridiculous, to be completely honest. And that brings me to my next point. It shouldn't have taken this long for me to become invested in Final Fantasy XIV, period. 60-ish hours in, and I'm just now beginning to enjoy it. Something needs to be done about these patch quests. The base game can be tolerable, even if I still think it's pretty bad overall, and it could be made much better with some quality of life improvements here and there, but the patch quests, my god. I understand that the devs are making changes to the patch quests to make them more bearable, but come on. New players coming into Final Fantasy XIV aren't going to be able to make it to Heavensward. I took my damn sweet time getting there myself and quit multiple times on the way there. Something needs to be done to make the game more accessible. And I know that you could technically just buy a pass to get through the content of the base game, but some of the base game is necessary to at least introduce some of the characters that are involved in Heavensward. And it's so unfortunate, because if the base game was actually somewhat decent, then playing the base game wouldn't be such a huge con. For those of you that want to get into Final Fantasy XIV, know that it's going to take some time to get into. And when I mean some time, I mean a lot of time. It has a very slow start. And if you need to take a break from the game, I totally get it. I think one of the problems that I had could have been going at the main scenario quests way too hard. Maybe I should have taken some time to do some other quests and enjoy my time in the world of Final Fantasy XIV. I wouldn't have gotten to Heavensward as quickly, but maybe I wouldn't have hated the base game as much. But now I can finally somewhat see why people like Final Fantasy XIV as much as they do. I feel that many of its fans aren't talking about A Realm Reborn when they say they like Final Fantasy XIV, and that's why there's such a disconnect. Because all new players' experience of Final Fantasy XIV is the base game, and it's such a huge barrier to entry. The devs have to do something to bridge the gap, because new players need to be able to enjoy this game just as much as the veterans. But for now, I'll be enjoying my time in Heavensward, and will definitely report back on the overall verdict once I've finished the expansion. I'll be streaming the game over on Twitch, so if you haven't already, make sure to come check out my experience in Heavensward. The link to my stream will be in the description below if you're interested, twitch.tv/bizquick_quick. Usually I stream the game Monday through Friday at around 6 p.m. CST, with some days withstanding. But if you're watching this video around that time, I might be live right now. So go ahead to my Twitch channel, give me a follow, check me out. Anyway, I want to know what you all think of the base game when compared to Heavensward. How does it stack up? Let me know down in the comments below, and I hope to see you all over on Twitch. Also, don't forget to subscribe, or Final Fantasy XVI is gonna suck. Sorry guys. That's just how it is, I don't make the rules.